How you doing? Welcome to Oakys Garage. I'm going to try to do a little car video here tonight on my own 1997 Honda Accord. And I already found a problem with this thing that when I went to, it's been running rough and actually lurching forward and stuff. And when, it's a standard transmission and stuff, when I'm driving along, it kind of is like lurching forward. So I figured I might as well check the plugs and stuff. So when I checked the plugs, I noticed that, again, this has happened before, is oil has leaked down out of the valve cover and got the plugs all soaking wet with oil. So I ended up taking the whole valve cover apart, reusing the aftermarket, which is not suggested, but the aftermarket valve cover gasket and all the little seals that go around the spark plug holes, and I took Yama Bond. I cleaned everything up really, really good. All the surface is excellent, and then I took some Yama Bond, which they make some Honda Bond, which I'm only going to guess is about the same thing. So anyway, took that and sealed the whole thing off and got it to stop leaking oil into the spark plug holes, which I think was like making, just like not making a good connection to the plugs, because the caps were all full of oil and stuff. So I already cleaned that all out and stuff, and I just ran down and got some new spark plugs. So we're going to pull the spark plugs out of this and show you what it looks like. So I already got I got my T-handle here. This is like the easiest way, and a little piece of duct tape on the socket that goes down there, a 5/8 socket that takes the plug out of there. So we're gonna pull the plugs out of here, which I've already actually had out and cleaned them all off and stuff, but I noticed that they were all pretty burned out when I did pull them out. So if you see this plug, I hope well, let me see if I'm showing it right. It is, it's got a Jaimundo gap, and I actually already closed that one up some. But we're going to, they are pretty worn out. These are AC Delco plugs, and we're going to replace them with NGKs. And so anyway, we're going to start throwing those in. I already gapped these all to 44 thousandths, which that's what they're supposed to be, and actually the NGK plugs were all exactly right. Okay, I'm going to take and just, I don't use a torque wrench or anything, just, kind of snug them in there, nice, a little more than snug, but not like super over tightening them or anything. So there's your first plug done. And we're going to go to the second plug here, pull that out, go through the whole thing. That one's about the same. It's got Jaimundo. I mean, even 44 thousandths is a lot of a gap. But, you look at that plug, and this is the one I didn't adjust. I mean, it's got this huge gap, so it is worn out somewhat, and it's got just too big of a gap, and when you get too big of a gap, you get less electricity going to it. It's less of it. The smaller the gap, just like welding or something, the smaller the gap, the more electricity is actually going to it. The more you pull the gap apart, then it's actually giving you less electricity to that. So it's not igniting the gas as efficiently as it could. Alright, we're going to throw this next plug in here. It sits there and there so it doesn't fall in and smack into the electrode is the one coming out of the porcelain, but the little arc here, that's you don't want that to bend that at all. So we're going to put that down there nice and carefully and tighten that up. It's nice and a little snug and a little more. These are pretty much sit on the wiring harness, you know, so it's not easy to mess them up. So always keep the mounts for the wiring harness there. Another one, it's like super Giamundo gap there. And bring these plugs over here, so I don't have to go out of camera range here too far. Carefully put that down in there without banging in anything. There we go. It's getting cold out these days here in New England. I'm gonna get this thing running good. Make it through the winter again. It's got 185,000 miles on it. And this is the one I pulled cordwood out of the woods, and this is my abusive vehicle. I love. Somebody commented before that Shishiro Honda he must be proud, and you're right, because he invented engines that actually, you know, and vehicles that, you know, took over the world, and for a good reason, you know, because he really came out with a good product. And, you know, as you know, I'm Mr. Honda, and I love Hondas. So it was actually a first vehicle I ever owned was a 305 Honda. And oh, Snoopy's moaning, hearing the story again. But I owned a lot of Hondas, and they've always been very good to me. So we're gonna, and obviously I drove it around after I did the whole valve cover thing, and we got no more oil on the down here, so that seems, that Yamabond seems to have worked. So we got all our plugs all snapped in, and that's how you do a spark plug change on a Honda Accord, pretty much any year, as far as I know. All right. Have a good night. Bye.